Take 7.
As far as you know.
Action.
And now it's recording?
Is it live
It's
streaming?
been recording still, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I stopped
Do we
and
need to
started.
restart it again?
No,
Or
he-
you just-
he
you
did.
just did? Okay.
Did I?
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Is it running?
Yes.
Is this thing on?
I hit the button, but that
Yeah.
looks like the red.
Yeah, like you're gonna reach
Yes,
it from
it's
there,
recording. It says 22, 23, 24.
All right.
25.
So now we have more people. There you go.
Okay. It's a good use of hard words.
Hey,
What's
our
Alex's
tax dollars at
girlfriend's
work
name?
right there. Becky is who he was talking about this morning. Some girl.
Becky?
Steve.
No, it's not. Yeah, they are trying to get me in trouble right now.
Is it Becky?
No, it's not Becky. It's not even close to Becky.
Steve.
But it is another
What
girl's
is it?
name? Is that
Maddie.
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 I don't
Who's
know.
going to be mad
Maddie
at?
or Matthew?
Wasn't he talking about Becky and Denny's and...
Oh, yeah, behind Denny's.
I promise I won't cuddle. I'll take that off the plate.
Where's the girl that worked at the bank?
Liz?
Let's bring her in. See, I was trying to keep the name out of it.
That's all right.
That's
She
She
work
was
at a
on
bank,
the air yesterday,
Oh,
wasn't
she
she?
worked at a bank and a
Yeah.
bank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Which one she
Both-
liked better?
both in customer service.
No, I was gonna say. In deposits.
Everything's gone mobile now.
I'm a,
I know.
is she here?
Yeah.
Just when she comes home, I'm gonna ask if I can make a withdrawal.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a withdrawal, please. Here's my account number. You need identification? Hold on 1 second.
All right, Alex, I think you're next, and then a commercial. Jan.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, a horrible commercial. That's from an agency, too.
Oh, this is me, isn't it?
Yes.
I don't want to listen to this.
Turn it up. Turn it up.
Derek Reitner joined the
Even though
345
it's wrong.
other AgriScience ambassadors after completing the 14th annual DuPont National AgriScience Teachers Ambassador Academy. He's one of 24 teachers
say y'all.
nationwide who were selected from over 300 applicants to participate in the program this year.
My
The Ambassador
shave.
Academy focused on exploring new teaching methods and learning how to draw out science concepts from agricultural
We
practices.
do karaoke.
Reitner is the AgriScience teacher at Peter Muhlenberg Middle School
Barbershop.
and is
Muhlenberg.
entering into his 11th year
Muhlenberg.
of teaching.
All right, Alex.
And
I was pronouncing it as it was
officially
spelled.
with all area schools back in session.
And they're not.
But the first long weekend is fast approaching.
Shenandoah County
Next
and
Monday,
yeah.
September 5th is Labor
Shenandoah County
Day,
doesn't go back to
meaning
after
all
Labor Day.
area schools will
Check your
My
pants, man.
only critique is gonna be you need to relax and sound like you do when you're speaking to us here.
by First Bank.
That's interesting.
Because this right here is like, I can't say because we're recording.
This is a great part.
Such a screw up.
I know.
Relax.
I don't know why you guys keep me around. I'm just trying to ride the wave.
There's a wave.
There could be, but I can't get out of the chair very easily, so.
You can do a wave.
All right, we go on when Jan's done talking to Jan.
We're gonna do the barbershop quartet before we go on.
Oh. Oh wait, let's do Three Stooges. Hello.
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 Hello and welcome to the Valley today. Thank you, Joe, for giving me that nice little intro. I appreciate that. This is the Valley today. I'm your host, Janet Michael. I've done it to myself again. We are in the studio today, not doing a live alcohol lab, although I'm not sure that you're going to notice that when we start getting into talking to my guests today. I am with Lieutenant Warren Gosnell, Traffic Division Commander with the Frederick County Sheriff's Department. Warren, thank you for coming.
Yes, ma'am.
And
Always a
then-
pleasure.
Yeah, and then as I look around the room, I have the wonderful Lonnie Hill, our fantastic afternoon drive by.
Fabulous. Throw fabulous in there.
Amazing,
Come on.
fabulous,
There you go.
fantastic,
There you go.
so cool.
All right.
And then there's Alex. And then there's Nikki.
Smack.
Alex
Wow.
Hinton in our
Somebody
news
pull
department. Thank you, Alex, for
Yeah,
coming in
Let's
today.
let me pull the spear out of my heart real quick.
Okay, good. While we're doing that, we're going to talk to Nikki Lucas.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi, thanks
Yes.
for having me
Yes,
back.
radio. Head nods don't work.
That was Lewis.
It's Lucas.
Oh, well.
And then what's your name again?
Sue.
Sue.
you look like a Sue.
Thank you.
Joe Woodall.
Who?
Yeah, that would be you. So Warren,
Yes, ma'am.
you owe me big time for having to put all of these people together at once. It's one thing when they're here individually and drunk. It's something else to have them all together and sober.
I'm not sure who owes who here.
Who says we're sober?
So we are here today to do, it's not really the live alcohol lab that we've done in the past, but this is just as an important show and an important message because we brought everybody back that has participated in the live alcohol lab over the course of this last year.
Correct. I thought it was a little too soon to bring people in and have the live drinking again.
We
So
didn't think
close
it
to
was
the
too
4th of July holiday, but I did want to have the folks who had all commented before when they were drinking, now without any alcohol in their system, let's revisit some of the things, not just what happened during the hour and a half that they consumed the alcohol, but how long did it take as they came down, and you know, how did they feel as they were sobering up, so to say, and
It was
what
a
they
horrible
think now.
experience, let me tell you.
Well, and all of you in the room, including you, Janet, have at some point or time been one of the participants in the lab. I'm the only one in here that has not. So I think I'll be the one asking the questions today. The Valley today will now have a new host.
Well, and that's fine because I have the buttons. So at any point, you're just going to go.
Oh, you know, this is one of those areas we talked about off air.
Oh, yeah, you just
Oh,
leave the
taser.
taser where it's at.
No, tase me.
But I do want to stress, while we're here and we're having fun, what we're talking about, folks, is a serious topic. And I always say that because whenever we come here, we do have a good time. But I've always been of the philosophy, if people are interested in what you're saying, they're going to remember what you're saying. And you can get a lot more attention from folks using humor and something they can relate to than just sitting here blurting out statistics and a dry read.
And random people's names like
Correct.
I did when I was drunk on the air.
So don't take the frivolity. You like that one, Lonnie?
That's a big word.
Don't take, I can't say it again, but don't take that as meaning that this isn't an important topic and that we don't take it seriously.
Absolutely.
I can tell you last weekend, members of the sheriff's office were already out. We were doing part of the get pulled over, or drive sober or get pulled over. And we went to 3 different locations. We set up for a short period of time at each location, and we interacted with almost 400 different cars and motorists. And out of that, we made 5 drug arrests. We towed 4 vehicles. We had 4 suspended drivers, 8 unlicensed drivers, some minor traffic infractions. And in the drug arrest, we made 3 possession and 2 possessions with intent to distribute charges.
Wow.
So that's just on the Friday before the Labor Day holiday. We didn't actually get any drunk drivers, but the whole thing is we want to be visible, and we want you to be aware that you could come around any corner in your vehicle and there will be.
Yep. Yeah.
And so it's better not to have anything in your system and chance it than to think, well, I'm only going 4 or 5 miles to make it home.
Yeah, because that 4 or 5 miles turns into 14 or 15 once you're behind the wheel because it doesn't take us, it's not never as fast as you think it is to get
Well,
home.
I'll take alcohol out of the equation for a moment. This past weekend, we had a vehicle crash that involved one of our cruisers. And a gentleman disregarded, making a left on a green. He didn't yield the right of way, and it resulted in a crash. He was 1.5 miles from his house.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just the drinking. It doesn't matter how far you're leaving or how far you are from your home, bad things can still happen. And so even if you're right down the road from your favorite watering hole and you're only going to have a quick couple, which we've talked about here with this group, we've used happy hour scenarios where you're only there for a little while, an hour, hour and a half, just like our drinking time here. And that's how quickly you can find yourself above that legal limit and in legal trouble.
Yes. So who do you want to ask the first important question to?
Well, I made some notes before we came in. I noted that through the course of the 3 drinking labs that we've had whiskey, which is Nikki. We've had vodka, which is Lonnie. We've had wine, which is you, Janet.
Yes.
And then we've had beer, which is Alex and Joe. And I've gotten the highest BACs that we had at that time. Nikki, so far, is our queen.
Go big or go home.
Drinking the whiskey the day she was here, she got up as high as a .12, which is 4 points above the legal limit of a .08 in Virginia. Nikki, now that you've had a chance to reflect on it, how'd you feel that day? How'd you feel the few hours after that day, and what has it made you think afterwards?
I can say that I have not been outside my house and had a drink since that afternoon was a little hazy. Apparently my husband took me to lunch. I don't remember that. Got some food in me and I took a 3-hour nap and did not feel amazing that afternoon.
And you had 4 1.5 ounce shots of whiskey, or 4.5 ounces of whiskey per drink, and you had 4 of those in an hour and a half, correct?
Yes.
Now, if I remember correctly, you were not seldom, but mainly a social drinker occasionally, correct?
Correct.
And it had been a while since you had.
Correct.
All right. And so, is it possible?
She's answering it. She's been pulled over. Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, correct.
That's the way I like it.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
is
Yes,
it
sir.
is it possible in your mind that if you were invited to a happy hour and you knew you had to get home to the hubs and the kids and the dogs, and you only had that hour and a half, is it possible you could have 2 or 3, maybe 4 drinks, just socializing and not realizing?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I probably would have been inebriated enough to maybe get in my vehicle and drive, not thinking about it.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it didn't hit you all at once. It gradually came on as you got to, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th drink finally.
Oh yeah, I'm getting the sweats just thinking about it right now.
So that's part of what we're talking about, Janet. You know, Nikki was in a controlled environment. She was comfortable with the people she was with. It would be just the same as if the gang here went after work to a happy hour and you're celebrating something and I say, hey, first round's on me. And then Lonnie says, well, he probably wouldn't. But Lonnie says, hey, I'm buying the next round. And then Joe kicks in and says, hey, you all did a great job last week on that special for me. I want to buy everybody a drink. So now we're up to 3. And now all of a sudden, Nikki's like, well, I got to go. I've had a great time. See you all Monday. 10, 15 minutes later, she's behind the wheel. Bam. Hits. Now what do you do?
Yeah, and that's the kicker. That was the thing that I think I took away from it more than anything else. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Lonnie and Alex and even Joe about their experiences when we did the live alcohol lab the last few times this year. And we're going to talk more with Lieutenant Warren Gosnell, Traffic Division Commander with the Frederick County Sheriff's Department, right here on the Valley Today.
I can't talk because that thing's still rolling.
You've been here for 3 months.
It doesn't matter.
You've been here
Actually,
for 3
since
months.
Sean's accident, we haven't
What are you doing?
gone anywhere.
Oh, taking her cheat sheet away?
Yeah, you recovered from that?
Welcome back to the Valley
Emotionally
today.
and mentally.
And I
Oh, wait,
didn't say
wait,
what's
wait.
on there, but I had to have it.
My husband got hit by a drunk driver.
Who did?
My husband in
Recently?
July. 7 o'clock on a Friday afternoon in Florida. Yeah. Guy blew .24. Yeah, he was embalmed. Yeah, he was a jerk. Yeah. Injured 3 16-year-old kids. It was bad.
Were they with him? Or?
No, it was 6 cars. He was the first car. It was a 350. A little 4-door sedan, then my husband's truck, and then the 3 cars in front of him.
It takes a lot of volunteers to pull off these events.
Definitely no drunk driving in our household going on. 0.
To address the needs of the front row of Warren County residents.
There you go.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I've been hit by 2, and that was before I got into law enforcement. So,
Yeah.
see, you don't have to make a very big circle of friends to find out that people have either been involved on the
One side or the other.
yeah, you know, I didn't want to say which end is worse or not, but you know, the bad end or the really bad end.
Right.
Um,
Right. So he had been road drinking or something because he came from Alachua, which is like 2.5 hours away.
Buzzed and driving. I've only had a few.
who? Is that what the commercial is?
$10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates.
Oh.
Please drive around. Actually, just park and come in.
Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk
That was
driving.
kind of a
Brought to you by
rotary.
the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
She's putting stuff on the calendar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Next month.
And then we got home and there's a drunk guy in front of our driveway. It took me 2 hours. 2
You're
hours.
like a magnet.
Sean's like, sir, what are you doing? He goes, I live here. And he goes, no, you don't.
I I had that happen too, but that was at Daytona Speedway. Drunk guy came into our camper, tried to crawl into the bed with me. I thought it was one of my buddies messing around till I looked up and I see some dude I don't know, and I had the cast on my arm from my surgery. Whack! But I was up on top of him. What are you doing in here? This is my camper. I'm like, no, it's not. Grabbed him up, drug him out. Then I got on my buddy for not locking the door.
As soon as camp's done, we go back. Next break at 12:50. Do you want to come back in with Alex or Lonnie?
I'll decide on the fly.
Labor Day, sunny and 85, and Tuesday, sunny.
So we're not touching.
Talk about Alex getting in
I don't
trouble.
want to get you in trouble.
Did he get in trouble?
His parents, his members.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Hey, Mom, they do.
Wonderful weekend. Drive carefully out there. Kevin Miller for the Valley today.
Let's get Kip in here. Get some meat or something like that, something like he's used to.
Welcome back to the Valley today. I'm your host, Janet Michael. If you're just joining us and you want to hear something you've missed, you want to listen to this show again later because you're going to need to do that. We're also videotaping it, so we'll have that video up on the podcast page as well. Just go to theriver953.com, click the On Demand tab. From there, you can listen to past episodes of The Valley Today, Education Watch, The News at Noon. We've got a new video on demand tab up there, and Joe and I have been working on a weekly series for the Citizens Fire Academy and bringing in people and doing live interviews for that podcast. You can only find it on our website. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter because we're sure that's where this conversation is going to continue when we are done. I have in my studio today Lieutenant Warren Gosnell, Traffic Division Commander with the Frederick County Sheriff's Department, and he is joined by the illustrious staff of the River 953.
Some of which I know personally from working with them in the past, and a couple that I've gotten to know recently, including the youngest member of our group here today, Alex, who is 22 years young, getting ready to turn 23, though he tells me.
Yeah. Soon.
Yeah,
Step
he
up
got
to the
in
mic.
trouble. Yeah,
Step up to the mic, son. We want-
come on,
There we
Alex.
go.
Okay.
We're going to talk about Alex now and Alex's experience when he was here and participated in one of our labs. And at that point in time, Alex had 4 beers, 4 12-ounce beers, and by the time it was done and he reached his peak, he was at a .08. He was at the legal limit to be driving in Virginia. Now, what we've pointed out before as well, and I want to remind folks of, don't look at that number and think, well, I'm safe. Get one of these home testing kits or something into your iPhone or whatever new gadget they've come up with. Remember, you can be charged and convicted of a DUI in Virginia between an 05 and an 07. There just has to be more information available. There has to be more evidence to prove your impairment. At a .08, the state presumes you to be under the influence, and thus it's a lot more difficult for a defendant to then say that they weren't impaired. But on this day, Alex hit the 08 mark, and from what I understand, he's not only the youngest, but he's one of the thinnest in the room, just looking at him. He says he weighs about $160, $165.
Yeah, which we all laughed hysterically.
Yeah, we're all saying that.
It's because I'm tall, it's spread out.
Yeah. So, Alex, on the day you drank, how did you feel?
Yeah, drunk. I definitely felt, and I've 1 or 2 beers I was okay, but by beer 3 I was definitely feeling it. And by the time I finished beer 4, I probably would not have driven, personally, because
That's good.
ever since I was little, I've always had it, hammered in, don't drink and drive, don't drink and drive.
Speaking of that, your parents had something to say about your last visit here too.
Yeah,
didn't
they said I should be nicer to not as lippy to the cops. And my parents, my parents thought I was being a little mouthy last time.
All right, so
I blame it on the alcohol.
So now it's sir, right? Sir and lieutenant.
Yes, sir.
See, there you go. You learn.
Yes, sir.
Okay, but on a serious note, in the time frame you drank for the lab here, is that something you think out in the real world at a social event, a cookout, a barbecue, a happy hour, or a get together with your frat brothers from college, is that something you could see happening, that you could possibly have 4 beers in that time frame?
Yes, sir. I would definitely have four beers in much less than that time frame.
So you could even see yourself drinking at a quicker pace,
Yes,
depending on what's going on.
for sure, definitely.
All right. Now, how did you feel afterwards? How long was it before you started feeling right? We'll use that.
It's probably a couple hours. I just feel tired after I drink, honestly. That's usually what happens, is I just feel very fatigued.
All right. Same thing Nikki said. She took a 3-hour nap.
Yeah.
Of course, now she was 1.5 times.
Yeah, but I wasn't like her. I couldn't go home and take a nap. I still had to work the rest of the day.
He took a nap. He grabbed his little Pokemon pillow. What was his pillow, Joe?
Pikachu.
He had a Pikachu pillow and he came into the studio and fell asleep on the sofa.
If I did, I don't remember it. But
Which is also possible.
yeah, which is also possible. But yeah, I felt very tired, and I probably wouldn't have driven for another. Wouldn't have driven for another 2 or 3 hours after I'd finished drinking.
Now, how many young people do you know, and obviously we're not going to ask names, but how many young people do you know that you feel would have driven after the 4 beers?
Quite a few, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially because I'm fresh out of college, come from the college environment. I know many of my friends probably would have driven at the point where I was at.
And see, now this brings me into, we talk about college students. Let's use that for a moment, because whether it's myth or fact, depending on which university or college you're at, drinking is a prevalent thing in a lot of these areas and situations. So now we get into blood alcohol content versus tolerance.
Yeah.
Alex doesn't seem to be much of a drinker. And from what he's saying to me, 4 beers, he was feeling it. He was accurate, because at the 08, you should be feeling it. But that tells me probably in college you weren't one of the guys doing headstands at the keg and stuff like that, were you?
No, I was kind of a social drinker, but not a heavy drinker.
Right.
So, it was like maybe once or twice a week, but nothing too serious.
But you've seen the guys and gals who do
Yes.
drink that way.
Yep.
Those people now, after 3-4 years in college, could now come out, have the same 4 beers that Joe had, be at the same BAC, but yet they could function a little easier than Joe was, Alex. Than Alex was functioning because of the tolerance level. And so again, we get into this thing where people think, I'm only having a couple beers, I'm only having a couple drinks. How often do you drink? Lonnie, you don't drink often anymore, correct?
No.
And so when Lonnie started drinking back during his time in the lab, he's drinking vodka. And I can guarantee you, he started feeling it long before Alex started feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
And what we'll do is after the next break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk to Lonnie as being one of the senior members on the panel here today, along with me.
Thank you for being generous.
There you go.
Thank you, brother.
We're going to talk more with him and see, since he drinks seldom and he is slightly older than some of the others, how quickly did it hit you, and then how long did it take you to recover?
Yeah, and that's the thing that kind of surprised me the most, I think, too.
Take a
So
break.
we're gonna take a quick break, and we will come back and talk more with Lieutenant Warren Gosnell, Traffic Division Commander with the Frederick County Sheriff's Department, right here on the Valley Today.
Sorry.
Did that make it?
Yes.
I'm looking at him in the sunglasses. I
Yeah,
guess
you
that's
put
why
on
I'm saying.
his
All right, so
disguise.
here's my question.
CeeLo Green over here.
I'm gonna ask Lonnie, because Lonnie will give me an
I'm
actual
like,
answer.
forget you.
That's not your weight, that's the maximums.
All right.
The maximum age,
Okay.
maximum weights in the group.
I was gonna say, that's not me. That's not me, bro.
So here's my question for you, because we're not gonna get to everybody in the 2 minutes we're gonna have when we come back. Can we, when we go, can we keep recording? So this can be, the podcast can be longer. Even though it'll be on the video, but can we, is there a way to,
Just record it in the song and tap it on the end of the podcast.
We can. You can do that.
so how do I do that?
Well, let's get into your last break.
So we're only
And
gonna
then
have
we'll
2
come back,
minutes?
and then we'll come back. Yeah, when we come back,
Look at the computer, Janet.
I don't know how to calculate the computer.
Back time?
All right, so right now, Bank of Clark County, then the liner comes up,
It's math.
and then, yeah. So when we come back, we'll be back in a minute, a little less than a minute, minute 10. And
What time do I need to wrap up?
at 12:56:50, you gotta shut up.
Got it.
So that at 12.
I'll even do the out cue.
Well, no, at 12:56:50, you're done, I thank you, and then I talk about the last of the stuff that I've gotta do
Oh, okay.
on the end. I gotta talk about what's going on this weekend and all that.
I hope
And then
no-
I'll
no
say
pictures
that the
pop up.
podcast, yeah.
Why?
And then I'll put that the podcast, we're
Wait,
going off the air,
maybe I
but we're
can
gonna
send her
continue
one
the
real quick.
podcast and all that kind of thing. I just wanted to make sure we could before I
I don't
said
get
it.
my time.
You're gonna get your time, but it's not gonna be on the radio.
It's gonna be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Aww.
It's his show. What are you giving
Put
me
it on the
grief for?
podcast.
Hey, well,
Three podcasts I have.
wait, depending on how much time I have, I might be able to squeeze both of you in real quick.
Squeeze me in.
All right, here we go.
Hand it over to me quick.
We are back on the Valley today. I'm your host, Janet Michael. We've got about 2 minutes left with Warren Gosnell, and Joe was crying during the break that he wasn't going to get to talk on the radio.
Well, I cried too because I've heard Joe on the radio, and any chance he gets to be on there, we should let him. All right, here's what we went out with. We were talking to Lonnie. Lonnie's the oldest on the panel today that is partaking in the lab. He's also one of the people who drinks the least.
Yes.
You were drinking vodka. You had 1.5 ounce shots in orange juice, I believe it was, and you had 4 of those.
White Russians.
White Russians, that's
Yeah,
right.
it's
That was
roasted in
nasty.
milk and
Oh, no.
oh, it was horrible.
And that's the other part of this. It didn't
The
taste.
Kahlua also had some
Yes, exactly.
alcohol in it.
They taste good. They're smooth. They go down really easy. So the scenario that you have been talking about is absolutely possible. Yeah, this is good. Wow.
Yeah, you could find yourself drinking at that pace in a social environment.
Absolutely.
Lonnie got up to a .09, so he was also above the legal limit to be driving. How did you feel?
Drunk. Very drunk.
And how long did it take you to recover to where you felt more like yourself?
If anybody listened to my show that afternoon, it was hours. Probably even after I got home, I was still not buzzed, but hazy. And
Because you drink seldom.
right, exactly.
And so with guys like you and I, it also takes us probably a little bit longer to recover.
To metabolize it.
All right, I still have a minute, so I'm going to Joe. Joe, you were drinking the champagne of beers last we were here. That's what you were crying about. And I don't blame you. Joe got up to .11, but he drank 6 beers in the time frame versus the 4 beers Alex drank when he was participating. So at the .11, how were you feeling?
It was pretty late.
and it showed in the broadcast.
Yeah.
You know, you were loosey goosey. You were fun, but
You belched on the air, Joe.
That happens.
who hasn't done that? I mean, really. Okay, there are 3 of us in the room that have. You promised her you wouldn't do that today.
Yeah, you're fired.
Now, how about the recovery?
The second time with the champagne of beers, it was a little longer, 3 hours maybe, and then the headache kicked in. The first time wasn't terrible.
So there you go. So that's a quick synopsis of what we did over the past 3 times we've had the drinking lab. My final message to you is, if you're going to drink this Labor Day weekend, don't drive.
Yeah, and that's the most important message. I will tell all of our listeners that we are about to go off the air. We are going to continue this conversation on the podcast. So head over to theriver953.com. You'll be able to listen to the rest of this conversation on the podcast page, as well as see the accompanying video, which, trust me, you don't want to miss. But that will wrap it up for today's edition of The Valley Today. Thank you so much to Lieutenant Warren Gosnell, Traffic Division Commander with the Frederick County Sheriff's Department, for joining me in the studio, and all of you people that I have to see almost every single day. There is a ton of stuff happening this weekend. Get out and enjoy your community. Veterans Memorial Fundraiser Concert and Cornhole Tournament happening in the Middletown Park tomorrow. Patsy Cline Music Festival kicks off in Winchester in the morning with a block party. Shenandoah County Fair still going on in full swing. And the Appaloosa Music Festival is happening all weekend at Skyline Ranch Resort. Whatever you choose, enjoy it, and remember to stay in tune with your community right here on the River 953.
Don't drink and drive.
So now what do you want to do? What do you want me to do?
Get the little record button.
How did I crush you guys? I would have thought you would have.
No such thing. Seeing if you're listening. Today's Saturday, and I don't have an appointment. Now you do.
I don't see a record button.
Little record button. The little red one says recording.
It says ours.
Ah, okay.
Click on it.
Okay.
File name.
I live for surprises. And let me tell you,
Click on the spots folder
since when do you know algebra?
and
When can you back
type in whatever you want to
But I
call it.
also like surprises that save you money, like surprise points during the Shop Your Way Back to School promotion at Sears and Kmart. As
Okay.
points pop up, you can cash them in on supplies, clothes,
Drunk tank.
backpacks,
That's what we're dealing
Hit
with.
save. And on the board, turn your monitor off. Gray button. No, not just the volume.
Alright.
See where you at.
Push the button.
Just do it.
That would probably be quicker.
Some of us have to work today.
It's
Some of
record.
us have to continue working today.
Yeah. Okay. Now you just turn your mics on and you go.
I don't need these anymore.
If you want to hear us, you.
Hey.
She can't hear like that.
Hello. You got the mics on?
Check
We're
one,
back.
1, 2. 1, 2.
Oh,
And the conversation continues. So I know when you left, you were talking to Joe.
Yes.
So let's let Joe tell us in a little bit more detail.
All right, Joe, how old are you again?
29.
29.
And holding.
And you drink occasionally, if I remember
A lot less
correctly.
than I used to.
Okay, at one point you were drinking occasionally, now family man, it's come down a bit.
The last time I drank was on air.
Okay, so you
Well,
got
no, I lied.
No,
I
you
lied.
had a beer at my house. Oh, yeah.
And the paint part. Okay, well, this is.
Oh, yeah, and we had wine at our paint party a couple of weeks ago.
and
The only time I drink is when I'm with Janet.
there you go.
I bring out the fun in people.
I see the common denominator.
Yeah.
We all have to drink when we're around Jen.
Hey!
All right, so you got up to a .11. You've already said you felt drunk.
Mhm.
What's drunk?
For me?
Yeah.
Sleepy. Mostly, I get really tired when I drink, like Alex was saying.
Do you find yourself more liberal with your words?
Yes.
And his noises.
It's bodily
Your
functions.
toes tingle?
No.
Feel numb?
No.
Any other extremities?
No.
Some people have that.
Yeah, I
They'll
do.
start-
My face goes numb.
Yeah,
and I can,
they'll start
yeah.
feeling extremities tingle or go numb a little bit. What about your appetite?
I always have an appetite.
Yeah, look at it.
All right, so
Doesn't matter if I'm drinking or not.
all right, so you start coming down because after you stop drinking and you reach the peak, everyone's going to start coming down. And the normal average rate for a person is a 0.015 per hour reduction. That's how quickly most people metabolize. Some will be quicker, some will be slower. So you're on the way down now. You start feeling, along with being sleepy, what'd you feel?
Headache. Mostly, that was the last time that when I had the champagne of beers.
Mhm.
I don't know if it was the brand or whatever, but when I got home, I had the worst headache.
All right. And since then, you've had a couple of drinks here and there, but nothing to that point,
No.
correct?
No.
Any ill effects from it, though?
No, not really.
Because some people also, after they've gotten to this type of level or really inebriated, then they'll have trouble the next time or two that they drink. It'll be more quickly that they'll feel the headache come on. Or if you drink enough of something, and Nikki will be able to attest to this, you drink too much of something and you have a bad reaction to it,
You don't want
You
to.
don't
try
want
to,
it anymore.
yeah, you go to have that again and you can almost feel it from the get-go.
Yeah.
That's why I don't
absolutely.
drink tequila
Yeah,
anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can't smell it.
Yeah, I have friends like
Smell it
well,
a lot.
have certain alcohols that have bad experiences with. They smell it and they start start
Yeah,
upsetting.
absolutely.
So what's that tell you? That's your body saying, hey,
Enough.
I remember this
Yes.
and it wasn't good. All right.
Here's a reminder.
Now,
Yeah.
Lonnie, we talked about you know, you were saying still even after you got home,
Mhm.
you could tell that it just wasn't a